Okay.
I think I fixed it. Talk.
Testing 1, 2, 3. Can you guys hear
Testing.
us? Please let us know if you can
Please.
hear us.
If
Yes.
you can hear us, comment your favorite Christmas song.
I like that. Oh, we got thumbs up from Marilee.
Ooh.
Your sound is on. Okay, everyone. Thank you for joining our live. We apologize for starting late. We had a lot of technical difficulties, but we got everything good to go. We have our special guest here, Bethany.
Hi.
As you can tell, we are all holiday out. You know, it's start of the Christmas season, and we are so excited for it. Yes. All right, so let's get to it, and we're gonna take off
Yeah, we're gonna.
our antlers for right now.
It's just for the. It was just for fun, guys. It's not serious.
Okay. All right, Bethany, let's start with the first question. So tell us about yourself. Introduce yourself to our people that don't really know you.
So, I'm Bethany. If you didn't get that the first time, nothing much about me. I turned 21 in January, so my birthday's coming up. I read a lot of books. Yeah, I would say I'm very much a bookworm. And yeah.
Yes. Fun fact about us, we have known each other since like we were babies.
Since we were babies,
So-
grew up together. Yeah.
Literally grew up together. Look at
Yeah.
us. Look at us doing a live together. All right. So let's start with our first question. How has this whole COVID situation affected you?
Honestly, I miss.
Move it closer. Move the mics closer.
Oh,
I miss seeing my friends. Like I miss Virginia, seeing everyone over there. I miss going to church. Yeah, I would say
definitely feel like we're from Maryland, so we got a Maryland takeover on the live today.
yeah.
And the funny thing that I used to say all the time, because like we were always at church and we were always like during the Dia de Dorcas era, we would go like shopping when it wasn't our turn, like to participate in anything.
Burlington Coat Factory,
right? The mall like 5 minutes away.
Yeah.
And I feel like I know Virginia more than Maryland. Like I know how to get around there better than I do here.
That's true.
And that's saying a lot because
We basically grew up there too.
All right. What is something positive COVID has brought to you?
I would say getting to know my mom and my brother more, which is really funny because they're your family. Like you grow up with these people. They like my mom obviously has guided me throughout my entire life and is still doing that. But sometimes you forget to really sit down and spend time with them and getting to know them. So I would say, yeah, getting to know my mom. Sometimes butting heads, definitely a lot of butting heads. But it's been good. Yeah, I think our relationship grew a lot because of this whole COVID thing. So.
Yeah, no, I can definitely feel that. I remember I was like my second semester in, and I was always on the go, like internship, night class, come home, eat, sleep, do homework. And like I barely had time to sit down with my family. Then when COVID hit, we like started having family dinners again, which was weird because like we never done that. And now we're like doing it again. And it's really nice. So I can definitely say that's something positive COVID has brought to me too. Now the next question, who are the 3 people who have been the most influenced to you?
So I really couldn't come up with 3, but I do have 2, and my biggest role models are my sister and my mom because, dude, I look at their lives and I see what they've went through, and it really inspires me to become a better person and to grow, and they're very strong. I think they're very strong women of God, honestly, because of what they went through, and it makes me want to be better. So I'd say my sister. Shout out to Ruth. I love her. Yeah.
That's so sweet. I love that. Okay, now here's a tough ball question. How has your relationship with God been these past couple months?
Okay. So my relationship with God, honestly, if we can be real for a second.
Yes, please be real.
It's gone through a rough patch. It's going through a rough patch. Honestly, with COVID also, like, it really comes down to whether or not you want a relationship with God, because for me, I don't have my mom holding my hand anymore. Like, she has taught me right from wrong. She's taught me, you know, our beliefs and of God. And now it's like, it's really up to ourselves. Like, if we want to persevere with that relationship, like, what are we doing to continue growing with God? And it's like, are you looking up preachings like on your own? Because we don't have church all the time to go to anymore. Like, everything's online. So you really, like, it puts your relationship with God to the test. Sometimes it's hard because you have life in the way. So, yeah, sometimes you forget, honestly.
Yeah, definitely. I remember before this whole thing happened, it kind of was like I kind of forced myself to like have that relationship because of like church and like who I was in the church.
Yeah.
But now with everything on pause, one funny thing that I have started with Nancy, if you're watching this, shout out to you, Nancy, and my sister Carla. We started like mini Bible sessions with I think 5 girls. They're like in the phase of going into middle school and high school. So we got a nice age going on there.
Okay.
And we actually started back in April and we've been going strong now. So I think we're at 7 and 8 months in, and we do every Monday at 7 p.m. And let me tell you, I was not expecting that to happen. It's literally a blessing in disguise, because there I've kind of forced myself to be like, okay, Lesley, you're a leader now. You got to lead these girls, like, see what you can do. But it's funny because as a teacher, a lot of them say like, oh, like the kids taught me and like I didn't teach the kids. And that's literally what these girls did to me. They were teaching me who I am and teaching me all these amazing things. And I give God like all the glory, because it's so amazing, because my relationship has kind of like turned up positively, I would say. And it's funny because they encourage me and I encourage them, and we have this amazing group chat where they're like, at one point they're like, hey, pray for me for this, and I'm like, oh my gosh, yes, I would definitely pray for you, thank you for telling me, I feel so honored. And then other times they're sending like TikToks, and I'm like, oh my gosh, thank you for sending me a TikTok, because now I feel like I'm cool.
Oh my gosh.
I'm like, oh my God,
Don't get me started on TikTok right now.
Yes, but I definitely feel that like this really has made us pause and be like, okay, it's kind of your decision, like what are you doing? And something that I have done was like, if I'm cleaning the house, I listen to like Christian podcasts, and let me tell you, they have completely changed like my perspective, because I'm like, wow, that's an amazing topic to do. I follow a lot of influential Christian people now, which I have never done. Like Christian bloggers, I had no idea they were out there until like this whole quarantine, and I'm like, oh my gosh,
you gotta get me hip on some, because I don't know.
I will definitely.
I don't know any Christian bloggers out there, but I would love to.
Well, yes, I love that. I would love to share with you guys what my playlist is, I would say. Okay. Next question. What is a piece of advice you would give your younger self?
Ooh, that's a good one. I'd probably tell my younger self that I'm not alone. Like, I think growing up, it's really funny because I'm definitely the type of person who likes to get to know people. Like, I like to get to know like different types of people. It doesn't matter who you are, where you come from. But growing up, I felt very alone. And that's because I, like myself, would just think that. And because of that, I never asked for help ever. And I would think that I would be so stubborn and think that I had everything in my head, that I had everything under control, because it was like all up to me, when really like I had people, I had family to be there for me. I had friends, and like I had God to lean on, but I was stubborn. So
Yes, definitely. I think everyone that I know in our friend group, and I mean like everybody, like I consider everyone my friend, to be honest. So like if you know me, then you're my friend technically. I think everybody that I have met so far is like that personality wise.
Yep.
And it's funny because growing up, you were always that like bubbly personality, like going up to the visitors and getting to know them. I remember myself, I was like, hi, my name is Lesley. Like awkward smile, like, oh my gosh, like what else do I say? But you were always like, you had a nice flow to how you had these conversations. You know, that really is a gift, because not everyone can do that. And it's funny because like I'm a teacher and I need to kind of do that with my new students.
Dude,
and it's crazy, but
I'll give you some tips.
Yes.
Sometimes you just gotta embrace your awkwardness. Like, you guys know. You guys know. I can be very awkward, but like, I don't know. It's very it's very nice getting to know different types of people. You get different types of perspectives, and it really keeps you open-minded, which I think is really important, to be empathetic towards people and like connecting with other people. So
Yes, love that. Just want to say thank you everybody for joining. I see you guys
Hi,
here.
guys.
Feel free to ask questions if you guys have any.
Oh yeah,
We are
ask
more
me
than welcome to
questions.
asking questions. We love to answer them in our best ability.
Yeah.
All right. Next question. What is the most important thing you have learned in your life so far?
To ask for help. Literally to ask for help. Because like we were talking about previously in the other question, a lot of us are the type of people to think that we have everything under control, when really we don't. I guess our knowledge only goes so far, like our wisdom only goes so far. And the thing is, like, we, like, ourselves, sometimes we like deceive ourselves, if that makes sense. But yeah, definitely to ask for help, I think.
Yes, I could definitely agree with that. That is a life lesson I have learned too. And it was funny because I think it was like 2 years ago when we had like a super deep like FaceTime conversation. I don't know if you remember it.
2 years ago.
I think to me it's so vivid. It was like after our trip to Arizona. I don't know if you remember. Do you remember that?
Yes, yeah.
Guy, let me tell you, this
Yeah.
FaceTime call started off so chalant with like a group of friends, and then it turned so deep, like not like deep, like oh my god, like a nice
Yeah.
conversation with all of us. And it was funny because I remember Nancy telling me, she was like, Lesley, like, why didn't you ask for help? And I was like, I don't know. Like, I thought in my head I asked for help, but I never asked for help. And that's something that I have like learned too, was like, hey, like hit up your friends, let them know how you're doing, and also hit them up. Because it was funny during this whole like phase that I'm kind of learning who I am as a person. I have learned to be like, oh, like Lesley, you want a friend that like talks to you about God. You want a friend that like hits you up and be like, hey, let me pray for you, or like, do you want to go on a Bible study, like picnic date or whatever? And I was like, I don't have friends like that because like they live in Virginia. I know you guys would drive down here, but it's just not possible.
Yeah.
And I was like, yo, like you gotta be that friend, Lesley. Like, what are you waiting for? You be that friend that you want to be that you want people to be to you.
And that's another thing. Sometimes we're so caught up in like our own problems, our own head. Like we wish someone would reach out to us. But the thing is, everyone is going through their own problems. Sometimes you need to be the one to reach out. Once in a while, be the one to reach out, because people don't know what you're going through. People don't read your minds, They don't read my mind. So how do I expect someone to know what I'm going through if I don't open up, And then I just keep pushing that feeling in and in until it's like a volcano of emotions,
Yes, I think that's our whole generation, to be honest.
Yeah.
Like I think we're Gen Z, correct? Correct me if I'm not.
We're
I don't
Gen
know.
Z.
Yeah, I think we're,
We're Gen Z.
I think everybody's like that, but it's weird how like a lot of us are like that. If you come to think of it, I'm like, And then we have like the next generation after us, and I'm like, oh my gosh, was I like that at your
I'm sure
age?
it's hard. It's a lot harder for them, probably.
I was like, and that's like one thing that I like, what I told my Bible study girls. I'm like, I didn't have somebody like myself when I was growing up, like someone be like, hey, Lesley, let's do something together. And I'm like, no offense, but like I kind of find them annoying sometimes, but I love them, because I love my kids. That's why I'm an elementary education major. But at some points I'm like, oh my gosh, I do not understand this joke. How is this funny to you? Like, how is this prank funny? I don't get it. I'm like, well, can you explain it to me? And I feel like a grandma when they explain stuff to me, and I'm like,
yeah, there's new lingo coming out that I don't even know. I only know because I watch TikTok. But I'm starting to feel old. Like at my job, it's just a bunch of high schoolers. Like there's a few people who I think are like 18 and over, but I work with a lot of high school people, and I feel old. Like I feel so much older. They talk to me, they're like, ma'am. And I'm like, who's ma'am? I don't know who that is. Don't call me ma'am. I'm only 20. Calm down. Or like they do these dances at work, and I'm like, here with my Millie Rock thing, right? Oh my god.
Yes, no. At my internship, because I'm a teacher, they're not allowed to call me by my first name.
Yeah.
So they have to either call me Miss Vallis or Miss Lesley. And let me tell you, the first time I went to, I think it was in elementary school. They're like, they could not pronounce my last name. So by the half of it, I'm like, just call me Miss V. Like, we're just going to have to go with Miss V because you cannot call me by my first name.
That's true.
Oh, we got a question. Chochi says, give us an example of a new cool hip lingo.
I don't know.
Poggers.
What is that?
Poggers. Say poggers.
Poggers?
Yep.
Stop. What is that?
I'm sure she will know.
Poggers. No, I feel like I'm saying something
No,
wrong.
it's not.
I honestly don't know.
It's not. Or pog moment.
I feel like
That's a little sus.
I feel
Wait, sus. That's
yes,
one.
that
sus.
is one.
I only know that word because
of Among Us. That's how I know it. Yeah.
Dude, I'm addicted to Among Us. I play that game almost every day.
Oh my gosh, let me tell you. It's funny because I did that as an incentive with our girls. I'm like, okay, if you can listen for 30 minutes of Bible study and then like you kind of like participate in it for 30 minutes, for at least 30 minutes, we'll play Among Us. And I remember it was our first time playing because I was like, okay, let me download this game. Let's see what it's about. We played for 3 hours that night.
Among Us?
Yes, we played for 3 hours straight. It was like 10 o'clock, 11, and I was like, oh my God, guys, I have a school tomorrow. Like, don't you guys have school? And they're like, yeah, we have school. And I'm like, we've been playing for 11 hours, like on our phones.
Okay,
and then
11 hours? You mean 3 hours?
Oh, no, 3 hours, 3 hours. My bad.
I was gonna say.
And my mom came up and she's like, you're addicted. Like, this is a game. You know how like, they're like, oh, it's a video game. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is crazy. Like, look what you guys have done to me. All right, our next question. What is the biggest compliment you have ever received from someone? Or like that has really affected you and like has stuck by you?
Oh gosh. The biggest compliment I ever received or stuck by me. Oh my gosh, I'm not too sure. Honestly, I'm not too sure. I feel like I would say probably I guess my ability to relate to so many people. Yeah. To be able to make friends so easily. I take that as a compliment, like a really big compliment. I don't think a lot of people are able to do that, but I don't take it lightly either. I think it's a very, like you said, special gift to be able to, just talk to anybody like so freely, because I want to be able to be a friend to everybody, like be that friend that they can talk to. So I would say that's a really big compliment I've received from people. So.
That's sweet. That's very nice. Like, it kind of makes you think, like, like what have people said to me that I'm like, wow.
I've never really thought about that though. Like, what's the biggest compliment? It's not something I think about every day, But
Yes, well, my compliment to you
wow.
is you're definitely an amazing friend. Like, you really are. Like, it's crazy how, like, that's what I'm saying. You guys, we know each other since we were, like, babies.
And we've been through a lot together.
Yes.
Like,
oh
ups
my
and
goodness.
downs.
I'm just going to expose myself. I was that one mean friend. You know, the one friend that's like, I don't want to be friends with you anymore. Get out of my face. I was that friend. And it's funny because I told my Bible study girls that because I want to be completely raw to them. And they're like, they make fun of me. They're like, oh, Lesley, weren't you mean when you were our age? And I was like, girl, I was, and I regret it big time.
It's okay. We were bullies. We were if you're going to expose yourself, I'll expose myself. Yeah, we were bullies a little bit.
I think we have Gemini to testify to that.
Oh, poor Gemini.
But we
Gemini,
love you,
if
Gemini.
you're out there, we love you.
We love you.
We
all
love you.
love.
Okay.
Yes.
She says yes.
It's okay. It's okay. It's okay, guys. We have
God has
developed.
worked in us. He
Amen.
has molded us. He's
Love
still
that.
molding us. So it's a work in progress.
Yes, what does the Bible say? We're clay, right? And he's the potter. I hope I'm saying that right.
Amen.
I hope I'm saying that right.
Yeah.
But yes, I love that analogy though. I don't know, bruh. There's this one song I really love. It's called Refiner.
I've heard of that.
Girl, I love that song. Let me tell you, it's one of my favorite worship songs. But I love it because the song is like, it's like I want to. It's funny how, because you know how like when you have glass, there's like certain glasses that are kind of like wonky looking, but people like have to heat it up and like melt the glass so it forms that way. And the song is basically talking about how like we're asking God to like mold us,
Yeah.
you know, into that, you know, peace that he wants us to be. And in that process, you know, we're going to get hurt, we're going to lose things, but at the same time, you know, we find like the positive leaf in everything. And when I was like meditating the song, I was like, oh my God, I'm asking God to refine me. And like, and it's obviously, you know, like the Bible talks about how like our tongue has power.
Yeah.
And, you know, whatever we say has power. And, you know, singing it out loud, I was like, wow, I'm really putting myself out there with this song. But I was like, you know what? I kind of want it to do, you know, I kind of want it to happen. Like, I want to be refined by God in the best way possible. And that's like beautiful. Like, I love it. And it's funny during this whole quarantine, obviously a lot of us like lost loved ones and everything like that. Our family was hit like crazy hard. Like I said, it's just crazy how in one phone call, it's like, oh, like we're fine. And the next we're like, oh, Lesley, you kind of lost your uncle right now, you know? And to me, it hit me hard because I was like, I was not expecting the last time to see him to be the last time, you know? And going back, I'm like, wow, I'm so happy I have all these pictures with him. And there's one I have with him and my tia at my graduation. But I was like, wow, like they won't be able to take that same picture when I graduate from college, you know? And through that process, God was like, hey, like count your blessings. And that's something that I have like said all the time. And it's actually, I made it into a bracelet, but I don't have it right now. Into a beaded bracelet. Cause like when I'm all around the house, I'm like, oh, and then I look at my bracelet and I'm like, wow, I have Esther 4:14, one of my bracelets, and another one says count your blessings. And I'm like, wow, like, thank you so much for reminding me that. Like it makes me pause and I'm like when I'm cleaning, I'm like, oh, I need to count my blessings because I'm so grateful to be here and have this opportunity to be on live with you guys and, you know, to see you and to have Jose Antonio here too. Yeah. And I just want to take full advantage of that. You know, like, you know, why waste my time worrying about stuff when God has already won everything that I need, you know? And hello, everyone who has joined again. Feel free to ask us questions, like I said before.
Yeah, ask us questions.
All right. So the next question is, what should I ask you that I don't know enough to ask?
Ooh.
What is one question you kind of want to ask yourself? I guess, does that make sense? I think that makes sense. Hopefully that's worded right.
What should I ask you that I didn't know enough to ask? I don't know. What do you want to ask me personally?
You've
known me all my life, but
whole 20 years.
Whole 20 years.
Whole 20 years. About to be 21 years. Oh, Gemini has an important question.
I have a very important question.
Please ask the question, Gemini.
Yeah.
Feel free to expose us.
I drink my hot cocoa.
Yes, we have hot chocolate. Brought to you by my mom, Hermana Rina Belis.
Beth, can you sing America Latina? Dude. Get out. Sorry, we don't have the track here. I am unable to sing America Latina. Unless we have a track.
I honestly, I don't know. I don't sing here.
Girl. Oh no, I can't. I can't. I promise to sing.
DJ Tonio can help.
DJ Tonio. Can you help out? It's like, no, I'm joking. I'll only sing it if you will help me with that song, Gemini.
We have a challenge.
Yeah.
Karaoke night.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh, that sounds like fun. Ooh, actually, that opens up to a question that just popped in. So, you have an older sister, Ruth, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, and she was born and raised in the church. You know, singing ministry. Recently, well, not recently, a couple years ago, she left to Arizona. Has a beautiful family. Love.
She gave me my nieces and my nephew.
Yes, but how has those expectations that kind of like she didn't pressure you, but like how other people saw her, they expected you to be like, how has that affected you?
Oh, that is such a good question. Wow. So yeah, growing up with like my sister Ruth, I love her to death. I love her more than anything. But it was hard growing up having like, I guess, Ruth as like my sister, because a lot of the times, like when I was growing up, people didn't know my name. Like, I mean, people would say, "Oh, that's Ruth's little sister," and which was fine. But I would be like, "No, I'm Bethany. Like, that's my name. I'm Bethany," and it would be a little hard because I had trouble, I guess, finding who I really was, because even myself, I would be like, oh, I'm just Ruth's little sister.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm expected to sing. Like, even my mom at one point, like, she really tried to get me to sing. Like, how she got my sister to sing. My sister started singing when she was 5, I think.
Wow.
And it was because my mom forced her. My mom forced her to sing in front of the church with her, and she tried that with me, and no, because I am the exact image of her. I'm just as stubborn as she is, if not more. So I would always say no and be like, Mom, like, no, I don't want to sing. So I started singing later on in life when I was about 13, and it was because Daniel actually recruited me for English service.
Shout out to Daniel.
Shout out to Daniel. But that's how I started singing. But back to the question, it was hard just living. I felt like I was living in a shadow for a little bit until I realized that I'm not, I'm not just Ruth's little sister, and God made me in his own image, in his own unique way, with my own voice. I didn't have to sound like my sister, in order to feel heard or be good. I had my own voice, and I was going to use it to glorify God. And that's what happened,
Yes.
So that's how I kind of got out of that mentality, and started, I guess, creating a name for myself, like just being Bethany, like letting people know, like, my name's Bethany, kindly. My name's Bethany. But
yeah. No, I definitely feel that. Like, I myself, I'm an older sister, and I have, like, Carla, my younger sister. Like, I don't want those expectations that people have of me to be on her and be like, oh, you kind of have to be like Lesley. You have to do this. You have to do that. You have to be a leader here. Like, no, like, she has her own ministry, and that's something beautiful in God, is that, like, everybody is, your own part in the body of Christ. Like, you can't have, like, 2 hands. Well, technically you can, but you can't have, like, 5 hands, Everybody has to be their own self, and everyone brings something to the table.
Yeah. And the thing is, something that I also learned growing up and still learning is that everybody has their own time. Like, not everybody is in the same path. Like, their ministry can grow. Like, my sister's ministry grew when she was younger, but mine started out later on, and that could be also for your sister. Like, her ministry could start out later on in her own time. So
yes, definitely. That's something that I have learned too, that, like, everybody's on their own path. And it's not like everybody's on my own, like, same
and
path,
it's not wrong,
and it's so not wrong. Like, it's so normal, and I love that.
And you're not late.
So
I
unique.
promise.
Yeah, like, I feel like it's so unique when God uses you. Like, it's so amazing. When I look back, I'm like, wow, like, that was your hand in that whole situation, and I'm over here crying about everything, and you're like, like, girl, stop wasting your tears. Like, what is wrong with you?
Amen. Stop wasting your tears.
Yeah, like, I'm like, wow, God was using me, like, when I was, like, I think I first started, well, it depends. Like, I have my dance ministry, I was basically I think it was at least 6. I don't know. I actually don't know.
We started out.
Yeah,
I started out as a dancer.
We all started as dancers. Our whole friend group, I would say, every single one of us. And over time, you have you, and I remember Nancy and Lorena. You guys are all amazing singers. Thank God for your voices, so amazing.
Shout out to you guys.
Because I cannot sing.
It's
girl.
okay. God gave you another gift, another talent.
Yes, I feel like I lost my voice at one point a couple years ago, and then after that, whenever I start singing, girl, it's not there anymore. And I'm like, wow, like. But then once it's funny because you guys went into your ministry.
Yeah.
And I remember our dance teacher, the hermana Rosita, was like, hey, like, I'm all for supporting you guys. You serve God in your ways, and we will be completely happy that you're there. And that's something that stuck by me, because I'm like, oh my God, my friends are leaving me. But no, you guys are just going somewhere else.
Yeah.
But then we have, me and Jemny. Shout out to Jemny. We stuck by it. And it became such an amazing ministry for me to do. I love it so much. It's literally my passion to do.
Yeah.
And I just love it so much. And it's funny because I think my biggest compliment that I ever gotten was from my science teacher in high school. I went to a Christian private school, if you guys don't know. And once a year, I would do a special dance.
Mm-hmm.
So for my senior year, I kind of went all out. I had like, I didn't have a
Really?
DJ, but I had one student kind of switch up songs because I loved 2 songs at the time. And I'm like, I want to do dances for both of them, but that's too much. So I had someone like switch up the song in the middle of it. And I changed from using a flag to like straight up wings.
Really?
Yeah, so I really switched it up. But I really love that. I remember that so vividly. But I remember when I graduated, my science teacher gave me a card and was like, Lesley, like, God is using you through your ministry. Please don't stop. He was like, I was in tears the whole time watching. And I'm over here like, no one has ever said that to me. Like, wow. And like, that's when I feel like I was at the peak, you know? And I'm like, wow, God, is this like what I'm supposed to do? And I was like, and then it turns out it was, because now, you know, me and Gemini, we are, you know, I would say the leader. I don't know, you know, but we're kind of in charge now. And it's funny because we have, I want to say 6 little girls. Correct me if I'm not wrong, Gemini. But we have 6 little girls. And I mean, I think our youngest is 4. The oldest is like 10 or 12, I think. And I'm like, wow, like I was starting off where you are, and they're so passionate about it. Like, I love that. And I think that's another thing why I want to be a teacher, because you see these kids and like their passion.
Sometimes it's a good reminder, like just seeing how passionate these kids are. It reminds you how you started. And honestly, because sometimes, you know, I started out singing, you know, so passionately, and there was a time where I questioned whether or not I really wanted to continue singing, if I was doing this, you know, just to please my mom, or just because like it was the right thing to do. Like, singing was in my family. So was that just what I was doing, or was it because I loved glorifying God that way, you know? And it turns out like I do. I really love worshiping God through song, through praise and worship. And it's still something I'm learning about, like, you know, praise and worship, what it really means to sing, you know, especially to sing under the Holy Spirit, to be guided by the Holy Spirit. It's a topic I'm slowly trying to learn more and get into. So,
yeah.
And Daniel as my mentor, shout out to him again. I love Daniel. He's a good mentor to, I guess, look up to as well. Oh, he's my third person, Daniel. That I would say that's my third person.
Aww.
As my inspiration and who I look up to,
That's
even though
so
like
sweet.
he's so hard-headed as well and can be annoying, but he's definitely helped me push through a lot and to continue like moving forward, no matter how like deep of a hole I'm in, you know. So yeah.
Yes. You know, that reminds me, you know who inspires me in the church?
Who?
The Dorcas. Like, literally every single Dorca inspires me so much. You know, including my mom and everybody else. But like, if any of you guys are watching, you know, shout out to you guys. You guys are amazing women of God. Yes, I'm pretty sure she was watching. I don't know if she's watching.
Yeah,
Paula was watching too in the beginning.
Oh yeah.
But like, I literally strive to be an amazing, powerful woman used by God like them. You know,
they are so consistent with their lives.
Yes.
I remember I have to help my mom.
I tune in sometimes. Not gonna lie, I
Yeah.
tune in with my mom when she watches it. I'm like, oh, I sit by her and I eat my breakfast while watching it, because I'm like, wow.
It is truly an inspiration just watching them. Sometimes, I don't know when, but sometimes they wake up like 6 a.m. and they have their lives, and I'm like, wow. And I just hear my mom like downstairs while I'm sleeping. Like, she'll wake me up because they're singing so loud, but you can still feel the presence of God through that screen.
Yes.
And I don't know. I think it's so wonderful seeing that you don't need a building to feel the presence of God, to be in his presence, to connect with other people. Like, dude, we're reaching people. I mean, they're reaching people, not we. But they're reaching people like in Peru, in different countries. And I'm like, wow.
Yeah, I think they have I think they have a Facebook group specifically for reaching out to Peru. But it's amazing. Like, I'm like, wow. That's like who I want to be, you know, when I'm a Dorca too, you know? Oh, we love you too, Paola.
Like, later on in life.
I know. We're like babies. It's
Yeah,
funny.
we're still babies.
You know what's funny? You know, I have Marilee, you know, as my cousin. You know, one of my oldest cousins. And growing up, I always thought that she was 20 like every single birthday. I'm like, wow, you just turned 20, you know, and that I literally cannot process it through my mind that she's older than that, you know. In my head, I'm like, wow, Marylee's my cool 20-year-old cousin to this day, and I'm like 21, so that doesn't add up, you know. But I'm like, oh my gosh, like, wow, like what is wrong with me, you know? But hey,
sometimes I still feel like like they're so like they're young, like they're still our age, but they're not. Like Myra, Anna, you know,
your
Danielle.
sister.
Yeah, my sister.
She has kids, and I'm like,
sometimes I feel like they're still the youth, which is weird because
like,
they're
we
not
are the youth.
They're not the youth.
Yeah, we are.
They're old.
We are the youth.
It's like, nah, don't come for me. You guys are not old. Very young and hip. And please tell my sister I said she was young and hip so she doesn't come for me. Okay.
Yeah, but going back to that, your ministry talk, what is something that you have learned, you know, through your ministry process that you're like, that you did not expect to learn in a sense, you know?
Self-discipline. Yeah, I had to learn self-discipline a lot. It goes back to persevering, like, if you really want it, because my ministry, like, is my ministry, something God has given me, and like I said, no one is there to hold your hand, you know, no, like, and if you want to continue growing and growing, like, spiritually, you have to have self-discipline, and sometimes it's so hard because your flesh does not want that at all. Like, sometimes I just want to sleep, or I don't want to read my Bible. I haven't read my Bible in a while, but dude, like, sometimes you just forget about it too. You have so much going on in your mind that you forget about praying, you forget about reading your Bible, fasting, even talking to God. And I would have to say still learning self-discipline, honestly.
Yes. No, I feel like with the whole COVID thing, like, I don't know, well, I think everybody shut down, right?
Yeah.
But our county really took it, like, high up a notch. Like, I remember there was, like, police going around with, like, threatening to give people fines for being out and stuff like that.
Was that happening?
Yeah, it was happening.
I didn't know that was actually happening.
Yeah.
I heard about it, though.
No, yeah, that has happened. I've heard people had, like, that it's happened to. But with that whole thing, it's funny because, like, I like you know, I'm pretty real here. At first, I did not, like, you know, read my Bible. And it's funny because I bought this whole journaling Bible, and I just started again. But it's funny because I was telling my girls, I remember, I think I started 2 weeks ago, waking up early to read my Bible because I kind of, you had that, you know, self-discipline, you know. And I was telling them, I was like, the days that I did that, like, the days just felt, like, so easy and felt so fresh, and I just felt, like, in the best mood possible. And I was like, you guys, I'm like, hey, can you guys, like, challenge yourself for this 1 week? And they're like, oh, I had to wake up early. I don't want to. I wake up early for school. And I'm like, okay, like, maybe do it during lunch or when you're about to go to sleep. But, like,
and what do you journal about? Because I actually want to start journaling, like, doing that. That's one of the steps I want to try and take in order to grow and, like, spiritually and just, like, myself. Because I hear it's very good for you, like, journaling almost every day about anything.
So I have 2 journals. I have my bullet journal, which I, like, put my dreams and what I want to do. But I also started doing, well, I started in the beginning of January, kind of like the highlight of my day. So, like, it would be, like, little, like, if I go back now, it would be, like, I went to Chick-fil-A. Like, it'd be stuff like, I went to Chick-fil-A, or I got a shake, or I did this today, or I finished this project. But they're, like, little things that, like, you know, at the end of the day, make me reflect on something good. You know, that's my bullet journal. And then I also have there, like, my favorite song of the month and what movies I watched and everything like that. And it's funny because, like, I think in March, I want to say March or April, I got my wisdom teeth taken out. And I watched all the Disney princess movies being knocked, like, you know, because I couldn't move. So that whole week that I was, like, on bed rest, I watched every single one. And then I watched the sequels and I watched the Christmas specials. So, like, I watched every single one. And it's funny because when I look back at that journal post, I'm like, did you really watch every single Disney princess movie? I'm like, wow, Lesley, like, that's kind of crazy. And then my other journal, which is what I consider, you know, my prayer. I have a prayer journal where it's just, like, me and God. And that's where I, like, pray my hopes and dreams, but I also say, like, oh, I'm worried about this, or I'm worried about school, I'm worried about this whole process, and I literally give it to God, because I myself am one of those persons that, like, I need to, like, hit you up and be like, Bethany, this is what's happening, blah, 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 so I can feel better. You know, that's, I'm one of that person. I need to talk it out. And I
Yep.
noticed that with God, I have to do the same. So I started doing that, and I literally like scramble whatever I'm feeling in that prayer journal. And that's specifically me and God. Like nobody has seen that journal. At least I hope my sister hasn't read it. But literally like it's somewhere where I know it is. And then I have another journal space, which is my prayer wall, which is
Oh, wow.
specifically for my friends and family. And remember, I think one of my prayers is like, God, like this is for my friends that are fighting battles that they don't want to like tell me about.
Mm.
Because I remember when I was going through my battle with God, I really wish someone had reached out to me and
Yeah.
said, "Hey, I'm praying for you." And I was like, and I don't, I don't blame no one for that.
Yeah.
Like you said, like no one knows what you're going through if you don't tell them. Like no one reads your mind. And so my wall is specifically for that. It's like for people that I feel that God is leading me to that day. And I usually do it once a week because everything is like crazy with like school and stuff, and finals are coming up.
Mm-hmm.
But then in my like Bible journal, I have like, well, I was doing the Bible for a year, and then I fell behind
Oh,
so
yeah.
bad. But I was like, I felt so
I don't
bad.
think I ever made it to Joshua.
It's like, it's funny because I think it's like one chapter in Genesis, one chapter in Mark, and then one in Psalms at first.
Yeah.
So I got like, I think I got a good 30 days of that, but then I fell off. And I was like, oh my God. And then I had like, it tells you how many days you missed. And that was like, that gave me so much anxiety because I know I couldn't make up all those days.
Yeah.
So I just started reading it little by little and not following that plan. But now I follow 2 devotionals.
Mm-hmm.
And I use that, to read my Bible. But then I also I pray before I do it. It's funny because I started with a prayer, like a worship song,
Yeah.
just to let my mind go to where it's supposed to go with God. And I usually do it, like I said, in the morning because I'm a morning person more than a night person. And I go outside to my porch. It's getting cold now, but I bring a blanket and a sweater and I'm fine. I play a worship song, and then I read it. Like I just read, and I like try to meditate on what it says. I go through, I think the app is called She Reads. No, First Five. It's First Five. It's a nice blue, it has like blue icon. And it's funny because it's like specifically for women. But I'm like,
Really?
that's weird. Like, but yeah, it's an app for women, like for Bible studying in a sense. Like,
Oh,
so
okay.
you like, I'm like, oh, you're reading through like Esther. Then it like goes through like, oh, Esther 1 is this and that. Like it connects with this and that. It connects with that and that. And I'm like, wow. Like, it's funny, Matt.
Jenny.
Jeez, I want
I want to be like Lesley. Girl, me too.
Ruthie. Look, Ruthie just joined.
Ruth, you gotta go back and listen to it.
Yes. But it's funny because when I read Matthew, the first chapter of Matthew is literally the genealogy of Christ. I think, is that
Yeah,
right? Is that
wait.
considered like his grandpa's grandpa?
Yeah.
Yeah, genealogy of Christ. And it's funny because when I first read it a long time ago, I'm like, oh, that's not a big deal. I skipped it. But this time looking at it, I'm like, oh my God. And there's 2 people. I'm not 100% sure what they are called. And I know it's in my Bible. Like I literally jotted it down.
Mm-hmm.
But like Jesus, we look back at his genealogy. We have amazing people like David. Like, oh my gosh, David, he's an amazing king. God used him in his powerful ways. But then we also see that he was like related to, at the time, a prostitute.
Yeah.
And I was like, and I wrote that down in my Bible journal, and I was like, he can take you from anything. Like he can take you from whatever you're going through in the deepest of troubles you're in and create something like beautiful and used for his works. And I love that because like God uses our past for like to help us.
Yeah.
And it's funny because I was telling my mom, I was like, I grew up in an amazing household, God bless my parents. I grew up in like the house that we're in. I basically kind of grew up here. I think I was 2 when I moved in here. Haven't moved since. My parents provided everything for me, and like I cannot say that I struggled like financially. God bless that I had everything that I needed growing up. But there was a time where I did go through, my own process,
Yeah.
which was literally, like I said, 2 years ago. And through that process, I have learned that I kind of like let things affect me, And it's funny because like looking back at a year ago, I was like, I couldn't talk about it because it was a lot to process with.
Mm-hmm.
And at the time, I felt that God couldn't use me because of everything that I did to myself, because it wasn't him. Like he was always there for me. God was like always lending a hand towards me. He was always reaching out. And looking back, I can definitely see God's hand move in my life. I can 100% say that he was there, and it was me who was pushing him away. And now to looking 2 years ago, like back from where we are now, I'm like, wow, like my past kind of made me who I am.
Yeah.
You know, that literally made me who I am. And it kind of made me yearn to learn more about Christ. It made my relationship with God 10 times stronger. And at the time, it felt like I have lost everything. And it was crazy because I'm like, wow, like you're using me in this way. And I know I have to do something else. And I'm kind of holding back on it. And I know my friends are knowing like exactly what I'm talking about. And it's really hard because I'm like, wow, it's funny because in my other journal, my bullet journal, I have everything that I know I have to do that God is leading me towards to do. And there's this one thing that I haven't done yet. And it's funny because every time I look back, I'm like, I'll get to it.
Wow.
But I have to do it. Like, I'm like, what are you waiting for? And it's funny because in one of my Bible sessions with our little girls, I was like, God is telling you guys that like right now is the time to kind of like look at it. And it was funny. It was this past Monday that we did it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's funny doing the Bible study with them. I really was not expecting it to go like into a deep conversation, but it turned into a deep conversation. And I'm like, I'm so proud of you for opening up to me, you know, like, I feel like a proud mother, you know, a proud older sister in a sense. Yeah. I was like, wait, I'm like, I am an older sister, but you know, but I think the question I gave them was like, what is something that God is not using or like God is telling you to do but you don't want to do or something? Like it was something in that line. I'm not 100% sure exactly what I said, and they all were like, they really gave good answers, and I was like, wow. I'm like, okay. I was like, and then at the very end I wrapped it up. I'm like, okay, now you guys know what's stopping you. What can we do to help you go forward? And they're like, oh man. And they just start talking about it. And then they turned around on me. They're like, Lesley, how about you? And I was like, I was not expecting you to guys. I was like caught off guard. I was like, God, like, oh my gosh. I was like, well, and then I told them, and they're like, well, Lesley, we support you. I was like, oh my God. I was like,
so cute.
They're like, we support you 100%. You have to do this. You have to do that. We can like, I can't wait to see what you're going to do. And I was like, you guys are little angels. They're not in disguise. They are angels.
In disguise.
Because they can be mean sometimes. Like little kids are so ruthless.
Kids are ruthless,
right?
Because they're so honest. They're have no filter.
But like we need that honesty, to be honest. It was funny. That's what I'm saying. Like guys, I love kids because like they just tell you exactly what's going on with you. And I'm not gonna lie, a couple Mondays in this year, I'm like, I don't want to do it, blah blah blah. And one of them always disappointed out, like, you don't want to be here right now. And I'm like, oh girl, I don't want to be here, but I'm forcing myself to be here because, like, you know, like you said, that self-discipline we have to do. Yeah. So if you guys have any questions, feel free to ask.
Yeah, is there anything you want to know?
Want to know about us? Yes.
Speak now or forever. Oh, I can't speak. Speak now or forever hold your peace. That's what I was trying to say.
Is that the right phrasing?
Is that? Tonya says yes.
Our hot chocolate is now cold.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
It's okay.
It still tastes good.
Do you have any more questions?
I don't have any more questions. Oh, I just saw Gemini's comment. Jeez, I want to be like Lesley.
Yeah, I know.
That's funny.
Lesley's such an inspiration.
Oh, yes, thank you. It literally is a self-discipline.
Yeah.
Like anybody can do it. And like I don't do it all in one day. Like I have specific days that I do certain stuff. Like I said, once a week.
But that's good though.
Yeah, I do like 1 hour prayer. And it's funny, I tell my family, I'm like, don't bother me for an hour because I'm going to be praying. Wow. And then I blast worship music in my room because I want them to know that I'm praying.
Wow, I gotta.
And like and that's where I bring my prayer journal in. We have, how do you guys stay positive when you're going through tough times? Oh, I love that question. Ooh. I'll let you go first.
Okay.
Thank you.
So how
Evan.
I stay positive. Oh, I'm sorry. Okay. How I stay positive going through tough times. Let's see. Oh, recently I picked up this thing actually. I started working out, guys. But which is really funny because I've always kind of been the sort of like, I've always been kind of sort of chubby, but I started working out because I was going through like a really tough time, and I just needed to put my mind like just doing something. And the thing about working out is I feel good afterwards. I put all my frustrations in without even thinking. Like I go running, so I'll probably just run as fast as I can, even if I'm like breathing like a dog afterwards. I still like, I just put my full speed ahead. And at the very end, I feel so good about myself. I feel healthy, and like at the very, I think a positive way to let out anger or sadness or any feeling that you're sort of going through, you know. And yeah, you stay healthy. Like, it's a win-win. I would say your body thanks you, your mind thanks you. So another thing I do is I like painting. I'm not the greatest, but I do enjoy painting. Beth is my workout motivation. Oh, stop. You got this, Nancy, though. I believe in you so much. I really do. So what was I saying? Oh, yeah, painting. I'm not the greatest, but it's very good. I just like being creative. It's a creative way to just put your feelings out there. And it makes me happy. Like, I like putting paint. I like getting, messy. It just doesn't matter. Yeah. So I would say that. And for you? How do you stay positive?
That's a good question.
Yeah.
I think one thing that I love to craft. So I like, I don't
you're
really
a very DIY person.
Yeah, I'm not like a painter in a sense. My dad is technically. So hit me up if you guys need your house painted.
No way.
No, like he like paints the walls. Yeah, he paints walls and stuff like that. So hit me up if you guys want your new house painted. But like, for example, do we our Mr. Snowman here? We call him Lazarus.
Yeah,
he's Lazarus. Like, if I see that in the store, I'm like, wow, how can I DIY that? So I'm a big DIYer, and so whenever I'm feeling stressed or something like that, I do at least 30 minutes of a craft that I want to do. And that really helps me, my mental health, mental health, and it affects, and it affects my stuff. But it's funny because when I first thought about the question you asked, like, how can you guys stay positive when we're going through a tough time? The 8 people watching, you are blessed to hear this because not many people know. And whoever watches the Facebook. But I would say about 2.5 years ago, I was going through a really tough time, and not just like spiritually, but also mentally and like health wise too. I went to a lot of hospitals, a lot of children's hospitals, because at the time I was 17. I did a lot of MRI scans and like CT scans, and it was just a really big scare for me that I was not expecting to happen. Because at the time I'm like, yo, God, I'm 17. Like, my body's not supposed to be failing me right now, And that was a really tough time for me. That was so tough. And when I tell you, like, it's funny because like you never, at that time I could say I never saw the light at the end of the tunnel. I really thought it was not going to happen. And to me, what really pulled me out of that was like the Arizona conference trip we went to. But in that, I learned that, Arizona. Yes, I don't know if you guys know this, but like me and Bethany are obsessed with Arizona.
Obsessed with Arizona.
I would drop my bags right now.
I don't know if any of them are on here, but we love you guys.
You guys have no idea how much we love you guys. Like, literally, it's funny because last year Nancy made me this like craft that says home. It's like, but the state is Arizona.
Really?
I have it in my room.
I love it. We're speaking into existence.
Yes, amen. Yep. Oh, Ruthie is watching.
She says yes.
And my mom walks in and she's like, why, like, what state is that? And I was like, says that's Arizona. And she's like, what the heck? She's like, what's wrong with you? Like, that you live in Maryland. And I was like, but my heart is over there.
Not for long.
Yes, but that's something that like, something through a tough time was like, at the time I could not open my Bible because I just felt like I just couldn't. I don't know if that relates to anybody, but like, it's funny because I was telling, Marilee I told Marilee my whole story. But I like would have my Bible in front of me, but I couldn't physically open the book because my mentally like said no, like, no, we're not doing this today. And I tried so many times and it didn't work. So something that helped me there was like listening to Christian podcasts And my favorite one is like Kirby is a Boss. I think it's called Bought and Beloved, if I'm correct.
Yeah, heard of them. I've listened to a few of them.
Mm-hmm. And so what I would do is my commute from home, I would like listen to the podcast instead of like my music. And that really helps me through that tough time because it's like I'm getting the word of God in when I like desperately needed it, but my body did not want to like, or my mental health did not want to do it,
Yeah.
you know? And so through that tough time, like it literally was, you know, God, you know? And that's why my phrase at the moment is like, count my blessings. You know, I refuse to count my losses. You know, I refuse like, hey, like I might lose my entrance to a certain program. But hey, like let's look at the positive side. Like, oh, what can you do now? Like what can we do now? Like, you know, instead of doing this, how about we do that?
3 more minutes. Start wrapping up.
Okay. So we are cutting down on time. So thank you everybody for joining us today.
Yeah, thank you.
It really was a blessing to be on live.
Yeah,
It's
for
been
my
a while
first
since
time,
I've
I
gone
was
in here.
nervous, but it was good. It was quite an experience. I had fun doing this and having you and you,
thank you,
our
yes.
DJ slash sound tech guy,
Tonyo.
our Freddie,
Our
from iCarly.
You're our Frank.
No?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes. But thank you guys so much for coming. I really love this, you know.
Dude, I feel so official.
Can you guys let Danny be the special guest?
Who's the special guest?
Danny.
Oh! Are we gonna do confetti?
Oh, are we? Okay.
Okay, so to end the live,
How do I do this?
you gotta twist it. To end the live, thank you for being here with us. And you just
Happy
Yay!
holidays.
Happy holidays.
Stay safe.
Because you know coronavirus is still a thing, guys. So wear a mask. Wash your hands daily, 30 minutes every day.
Bye.
Bye.